Now, we do this all the time on The Drum, I know, but they do say, or they used to say, you should never discuss money, religion or politics. But the role of faith has been drawn into the debate over whether a Sri Lankan Tamil family should be allowed to stay in Australia. The family of 4 is currently being detained on Christmas Island. Today, the federal court delayed their deportation until at least Friday, when the court will decide if the visa application of the youngest child has been properly considered. It was revealed in court today that Immigration Minister David Coleman had advised the family's lawyers that the department would not allow the toddler to apply to renew her visa and that her case had already been assessed. Their plight has drawn support from people all around the country, including Labor's Kristina Keneally.
I don't normally like to mix religion and politics, but I want to make an appeal to the Prime Minister. This is an opportunity for the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, to show what Christian leadership looks like. It is compassion, it is welcome, it is the story of the Good Samaritan.
The government has refused to intervene, saying that would send the wrong message.
You must be consistent, otherwise you just send out the invitations. And I understand absolutely the motivation and the compassion that Australians have expressed in relation to this case. But I also know from bitter experience that if you make the wrong calls on these issues, then you invite tragedy and you invite chaos.
Now, Katrina, I want to come back to the question of faith in a moment, but first of all, to the basics of this case. Is this an opportunity, given the community support for this family, for the minister to show leniency?
Well, I would say that in most regional communities, people of different ethnicities are welcomed with open arms, and I understand that the mum in this case is working at St Vinny's. You know, they're broadly accepted by the community. But there's a problem here. They're illegal immigrants. Now, in 1986, the Hawke government introduced a new law which said that any child that's born in Australia must have at least one parent who is either a permanent resident or an Australian citizen in order for them to be able to be called Australians. So that's been in force for a very long time. And it was to stop this exact thing from happening. People entering the country illegally, having children and trying to claim Australian citizenship as a result of that. So it's a long-standing thing in Australia that's the way it operates. And I honestly believe that if this family was to stay, if the Prime Minister intervened and allowed this family to stay, that would encourage people smugglers all over again. And now we've got 6,000 people waiting along similar lines to be able to call Australia home. If this case is allowed, it's been so public, what does that tell the other 6,000 people on that list? It tells them that, you know, they're going to have every chance of settling here as well, when they just won't. We really don't want to start those boats from coming over again. I think compassion in this case is stopping people smugglers and stopping people drowning at sea. I really do.
Nicole, what's your view? There was a lot of concern today. The Australian, you know, this headline, Tamil case sets path for 6,000 others who've also similarly been rejected, as Katrina just brought up. How do you view it?
Look, I don't see bringing religious into this debate at this point as being a bad thing. I don't agree with religion in politics whatsoever, but I think this family needs to be shown compassion, just like anybody coming to this country and seeking asylum deserves compassion. And at this point, to protect this family, I think it's, you know, all options on the table. And if Scott Morrison wants to talk about, you know, having consistency, well, he keeps talking about being a religious person. I'm just questioning, where is his consistency, and where does his religion sort of go out the door and is no longer important when it comes to his politics? I'm just... Yeah, it's all on the table at the moment, I think.
Hold that point, because I want to come back to you on that, Ashley. But you're saying that compassion should be shown. What about the fact that, you know, as Katrina's saying, there has been a process. It's been heard by the Federal Magistrates Court, the Federal Court, the High Court, and they've been found not to be, you know, legitimate as refugees. Like, where does that leave us?
There's 2 young children in this debate, and this is the only home that they've known. We're tearing them away from here, and I just, as any mother of children, it's heartbreaking, and I don't think we should be doing this to anybody. And and the processes and the ways in which they're doing it and the way it's done very publicly, this is quite excruciating and this is quite traumatising for this family. And I think that with everything that's happened in the processes, I think they've been through enough. And despite whether or not they have the legitimacy around being here as illegal immigrants, I mean, geez, if we're not compassionate as a nation, then who are we? Really, how good is Australia really? How great is Australia if this is how we're going to treat 2 young children?
Let me return to the question of faith in politics. You're a Catholic, former altar girl.
Yeah, that's right.
How do you view it? Should people be allowed to make faith-based decisions and publicly argue on theological grounds about which policy is best?
I think there's 2 parts to this whole situation, and it goes down to religious values. When we're representing different groups, and the Prime Minister has clearly came out and said that he is a strong Christian man. So he's already trying to demonstrate the strong Christian values, but he's kind of picking and choosing when he wants to demonstrate those. And also there's ministerial intervention. And so they're picking and choosing when they want to, demonstrate that sort of power. I mean, if we want to talk about 6,000, opening up to 6,000 people, how about 6,000 au pairs coming through? I mean, because that was the last time that there was ministerial intervention. So it's this situation. I think the community has spoken. There's a lot of people advocating for the family to stay. But, I mean, consistency is the word as well.
But where's the ALP's consistency on this, though? Because when Bill Shorten was the leader, we were pretty much arm in arm when it came to home affairs and making sure that, we worked together to stop the boats. Then suddenly there's a change of policy and suddenly Senator Keneally's out there saying, no, we're not going to walk arm in arm with the government anymore. We're not going to, have stopping the boats as our focus. We're going to have an ad hoc approach to who should come into the country and who shouldn't. I mean, there's no consistency from the ALP whatsoever in this.
Well, Kristina Keneally is a senator for New South Wales and for the Labor Party, and she's basically just advocating for her constituents. So the community's speaking, and she's just being their voice on that platform. I mean, she's not going out and speaking against the people. She's just saying on that level what they want to hear.
It's a pretty moot point now anyway, because the government has backed themselves so far into a corner that they will not allow these 2 to stay, and it's a very big shame.
Well, they're illegal immigrants.
Yes, but there is ministerial discretion, and quite some time ago, I mean, this has been going through the courts, as we know.
Publicity, would you honestly allow?
But there wasn't this level of publicity for the last 7 years, and what could have quietly been done is
the Labor Party hadn't been out there stirring it up.
Well, in what, the last couple of weeks, not for 7 years. This has been going through the courts for that long. Here is a family that represents all the values that we absolutely, our own Prime Minister, if you have a go, you get a go.
A lot of illegal immigrants do reflect that, but
if quietly they had just said you can make an exception. We have done this. I started my career out in foreign affairs, so we used to make exceptions for people in the past when we could have gone through quietly under the radar. It won't happen now because they haven't.
But is it true that the problem is that ministerial discretion does occur in a whole range and thousands of people, under the time, for example, when Philip Ruddock was Immigration Minister. The problem is that happens behind closed doors, that happens through very small kind of channels. It doesn't happen at the behest of the media or an opposition party. So once that pressure is on, they are almost stuck.
I mean, the Home Affairs Minister was trying to say we should be lenient to all white South Africans at one point who wanted to come here. So it's about consistency, and on that point, religion has no place in politics. Act how you want to according to your conscience, but we are a secular country. And recently I heard the Prime Minister say something about, God bless Australia, and I cringed and I thought, we are not that country. If you are truly representative of our constituency, we're made up of a lot of people who are atheists. There are people who are Christians or Muslims or Jews or Zoroastrians. I believe quite a few identify as Jedi on the census. We need to be representative of all that. And in a secular country, I don't believe that any religion should be coming into the decisions that we make. We should make them on a beautiful humanitarian basis for being decent people. And I don't believe that the only decent people in the world are those who have religious values. I think they do instill that in some people, but I think when we see this sort of hypocrisy of, yes, I'm a good Christian, but I'm not going to show compassion to these people. And I understand the difficulty in the politics of this, but it could have been done quietly quite some time ago, and now, of course, the opportunity's gone.
Well, we have great ethnic diversity in this nation. I think that the majority of people absolutely embrace that. And I agree with you. I don't believe that politics and religion mix. I think you should keep your state separate from your church. I do believe that.
Well, you're an Anglican, and as a politician, did that play at all into...
I always voted for, I tried to stick to what my constituency would want. I tried to put them first on every occasion. I was a Member of Parliament for 18.5 years. I really tried to do that, or argue it in the party room, get the decision changed, find a way through. When it came to issues of science, I always voted for science. So that probably was in conflict with a lot of what might have been preached at the Anglican Church. I'm not a very good Anglican, but, you know, I'm there. So, yeah, just try to put the community first. But I know that there are issues in parliaments around Australia at the moment where religion is being brought into particular debates, and
well, in New South
I've got to
Wales,
respect
where you
the
were
decisions of those particular MPs.
Right, New South Wales, where you were in terms of abortion.
Correct.
Being brought in
as we speak. Yeah.
I just want to make one point. I think that it's really important that our governments, our parliaments, our local councils demonstrate and look exactly how our communities are. I think there should be all different types of faiths, all different types of cultural backgrounds, sex orientations, genders. It should just that's when people are able to advocate, because they're, you know, speaking upon their lived experience. It's not so much having to, you know, guess. They're really representing there.
Diversity
That's right.
brings best practice.
Nicole, there's been a lot of criticism of Kristina Keneally today, particularly by News Limited. They're saying it's going to backfire, that she brought in religion. Annabelle Crabb also read a piece today saying, well, is it for the ABC, saying, is it basically incompatible, religion and politics, given some of the major things, you know, like be meek, be mild, turn the other cheek, love your enemies, do not covet, don't work on Sundays. But is the truth that people tend to tolerate religion when it's brought into politics and they agree with it? So if people bring it in to say, we think that families should be let in, it wouldn't bother you. But if it was brought in on the other side, saying no, real compassion is fighting the people smugglers, then that would bother you. I mean, is that the thing, that like religion in a way has become a partisan issue?
I think, yeah, religion has become part of the issue, and it's around that whole picking and choosing when, you know, the religion starts and the politics, you know, religion stops and the politics start, so to speak. And like I said, you know, there's no consistency with the approach, and like ultimately they're there to serve, you know, these governments are here to serve the people, and the people are massively speaking out that you know, that this decision should be overturned and they should be allowed to stay. And I think using religion as an argument is a very slippery slope. But like I said, to what's in front of us and the predicament that's in front of this family, well, you know, anything's on the go. All tactics are on the table with what's facing this family. But you know, I don't think that we've got the capacity for our religion and state to be separate if you've got people who are such outspoken, you know, people within different religious communities, and like you were saying before, that it's a big reflection again across our government is that it is not reflective of the community. The diversity of the community is not reflected within our elected leaders, and you know, we need more people than just one person with a disability in the parliament. You know, more different, you know, faiths, diversities, sexualities, identities, disabilities, cultural backgrounds to be represented across our governments, and then maybe these decisions would be different, and maybe there'd be a more collaborative approach happening at this point, rather than, you know, it sort of feels a little bit like ruling with an iron fist.
Why do you think this case and this family has struck such a nerve, Katrina?
I think predominantly because they're in Bilwala, because they're in a country community. And as I mentioned before, country communities are very embracing of people coming in and contributing to the local economy, contributing to the local community. So I would say first and foremostly that they've been embraced by this community, and that's where it's started. So maybe if they were in the big city without local connections or had kept separate within their own community within a big city, it would be a different set of parameters that we're dealing with right now.
Is it because, Ashley, you think we're used to talking about people in the abstract and we don't actually get to know, individuals when we talk about migration and we talk about asylum seekers. We don't see the faces of their children and know how much they want to stay and the community around them wants to stay. Is that what it is?
I think there's been a bit more of a narrative to this situation, particularly because they're from a small country town, and so they've gotten to know the community and people are understanding their story and having more empathy around it. They've built up that momentum across the whole country, and so they're really speaking out.
Okay. Well, maybe they could, if they had to go back. I mean, Peter Dutton has said they can apply for immigration status from there. If they got hired by a local business in Bullawilla, they could return.
Let's hope.
Yeah, they just
Well, let's leave it.